Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now today we're back onto the Scottish series because I need to get a push on because I've got a heck of a lot of Scottish beers to get through, and I need to start kind of picking up the pace because I'm not going to get through them before the end of before the end of this year if I don't start kind of doing a lot more. But also, just before we start, I asked in one of my past videos people to give me their opinion of whether I should be doing a stout as a kind of more kind of Christmas brew, or should I be doing an ale and maybe what type. And a good suggestion was put forward that why don't I do one of the beers that I actually like, and they suggested Old Peculiar because it is an ale that I do like and I think it would actually make quite a good Christmas beer. So as part of the kind of discussions on that, they also recommended that they thought it would have molasses or treacle in it because it tastes that way within the actual brew. So I did a bit of investigation, and there's two ways, and sometimes they mix them. But one of the things they do is muscovado sugar, so they put that in it. And another thing they put in it that I've checked is dark Belgian candy sugar. And I've got this from the Draught Brewing Company, so I've got some stuff there to give it a try. I've got some grains as well and things like that, so I'll be able to do a small batch first, see what it's like, and if it turns out quite well, then I'll do a bigger batch and we'll see what it's like. But to get back onto the review today, because we're a minute and a half in and we haven't really discussed what we're doing today. So what we're doing today is Belhaven Best. So yes, Belhaven Best. Now apparently it says it's a cream of Scottish beers, and apparently this was established in 1719. 2019 marks the 300th anniversary of Belhaven Brewery. We're celebrating 3 centuries of brewing Scotland's finest beers here in Dunbar, always from 100% Scottish barley and water from our ancient well. Now I think this was $3.99 for 4-pack, excuse me, and it's a rip-roaring 3.2%, so there we go. Now, I haven't had this for a while now. Belhaven, I think they're now owned by Green King, so they're still brewing in Dunbar at the brewery, but it's actually owned by Green King. So there's no more spiel on the back apart from that. So let's crack it open and see what it's like. Now this does have a widget in it, so I think you kind of know what type of pour I'm going to get with this. And as you can see, this is going to have to settle a bit. Yes, says a lot, doesn't it? So there you go. And it's only in 440ml can. That's another problem that you're getting with it. So it's 440ml, and it's 3.2%, and it's £3.99 for a 4-pack. Another one of these, you know, apparently 300 years of beautiful beers, and it's the cream of Scotland beers and blah blah blah. But they can't give you 500ml because it just that would just throw you over the edge. I mean, you just couldn't cope with that. It's just too much of a good thing, isn't it? They're always trying to rip you off, aren't they? Everybody else is doing 500. Oh, we'll do 440, you know, because you're special. So yes, so there you go. That's what you've got, and it reminds me of a certain kind of beer you get down. Well, it reminds me of 2 types of beers you get down in England, and reminds me of a beer that we used to get in Scotland. I don't think they get it. I haven't seen it for a while. Any time I've been up, but used to get a beer called Caffrey's, an Irish beer supposedly. Yeah, and it was the kind of same kind of the creamy head, well, because it's a widget nitrogen pour, and of course you've got the same with John Smith and Boddington's. They're looking the same. So let's see, I'll do a wee, that's for the thumbnail. There we go. So what does it smell of? Getting caramel, getting slightly malt, slightly caramel, and that's it. Nothing else. Now, I would say normally that this would probably be a heavy, but I'm not going to actually call it heavy because it doesn't really look like a heavy. I mean, you used to get drivers with a slightly creamier head. So you used to do just a slightly creamier head, but nothing in the way of this. And it was just basically how it was basically brewed. So it was just a bit of a thicker kind of beer compared to the standard kind of 10 and 70 shillings and 80 shillings and all these different types of things, which are a bit more watery. So that was why, but something float about in this. Oh, I'm not going past that head. So yeah, bit caramelly, smells a bit sweet as well. But let's see what it tastes like. It actually tastes like a slightly sweeter version of kind of John Smith's. John Smith's is a ever so slight bitterness because it's supposed to be a kind of bitter. It's not. But yes, and of course John Smith is quite sweet, especially at the front of the mouth. This is kind of similar, but it's a slightly kind of sweeter aftertaste. And yeah, so it's a bit kind of a Boddington meets John Smith type scenario. Yeah, not really that great actually. I always find these beers when they're like that, just the texture and the feel of them just feels quite unnatural. There's a few famous stouts that do this as well, that use the nitrogen to kind of give it a type of different texture or unique texture, and it's all to do with the pour and the settling and all this type of, all that kind of fanny bollocks and all that. We've spent quite a lot of time in Ireland working over the years, and I've based drinking in pubs in the Swords Road, and it's just outside Roker Park and all that type of stuff. All these places, in Belfast and in Dublin and everywhere else, down in Clonmel and all this type of stuff. And all the old Irish guys used to just drink the Guinness from the bottle. And I actually asked them quite a few times, I said, why do you not take the stuff from the tap? He said, well, let the tourists drink. Nah, that's like a soft drink, that tourist drink. They wouldn't touch it. They'd like their other kind of the flatter stuff coming from the bottle. That was more like the real Guinness than the crap you're getting from the tap. And that's what they basically refer to it as, just crap. So it says a lot about it. And yeah, I can understand. There is a bit of kind of crappiness about this. There is a kind of like, it's kind of touristy or false in some way, that type of thing. It's not really like a real beer because it doesn't really have the right textures, and the flavour profiles are a bit off as well. So let's break them down. Right. Starts off quite a sweet, malty kind of caramel flavourings at the start of the mouth. Moves on to the mid-tongue, and the caramel just has kind of died down a little bit, but it's still there, and the sweetness has died down a little bit, and you're just getting a little bit of maltiness in there. Maybe a little bit of grain, but again, there isn't really much kind of real beer flavour in it. It's more kind of caramely, kind of maltiness. That is your kind of main flavours. Then it moves on to the aftertaste, and this is where you think it's going to get a little bit bitterish, just a slight bitterish kind of aftertaste that you get from John Smith's, because really it's quite similar to John Smith's in a lot of ways, and trust me, that's not a good thing. But it doesn't. It just continues that kind of sweetness, and that's it. So it's like a really one-trick pony. Caramel sweetness, right? We'll have that at the start. We'll try and kind of stretch it out all the way to the aftertaste, and there you go, boys and girls. Thank you very much. It's a cream of Scottish beer. Oh God, seriously. Yeah, there you go. There you go. No. It's like ever so slight chemical kind of flavour at the back and the aftertaste. Ever so slight, just as everything, all the flavours kind of pan away. It's kind of an ever so slight kind of slightly chemical flavour. But that might also be due with it's sitting there, you know, with a nice bit of plastic kind of steeping in it. So that probably doesn't really help it much either. And then again, of course, you've got the stupid gas that's used and released by the widget as well. That probably taints it, the flavours a bit. So, what would I give this out of 10? Now, the first two I did was 2 from Tenants, and they got both 2 out of 10. This, I would probably say, is kind of similar along the way. There is probably a bit more flavour and a bit more about it, but I don't like this gimmick nonsense and everything else with the widget and all that bollocks. And it does taste very similar to John Smith's. So, out of 10, I'm going to give it a 2.5. 2.5 out of 10. It's slightly better than Tenants, but it's still pretty crap, to be totally honest. Would I recommend it? Well, if you like John Smith's and Boddington's or Caffrey's, then yeah, have a go. If you're not into these type of beers and you feel that the whole blooming texture is spoiled and everything else with these type of widgets and everything else from the can, then my recommendation is don't go anywhere near it. Avoid. Now, we will have other beers coming up from Belhaven, and they are more of the kind of specialist beers that they do, and they are in bottles, so there's no widgets. So this is the one and only we're going to get for this kind of style, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's a 2.5 out of 10, 3.2%, 440ml can, £3.99 for a 4-pack. Not really for me, and I wouldn't really recommend it. Thanks for watching, cheers, and bye for now.